Hello, everyone. Good Wednesday. So, yes, we have been going at it all week long. And so I'm definitely in desperate desire of your prayers. However, tonight is very exciting night that we have some more survivors. Last week we had a pink table talk. This week we have purple table talk that's going to be presented to you by Power to the People. And so tonight we want to empower those who are domestic violence survivors, those who are perhaps will pick up information to share with friends and even their loved ones, family that you may suspect may be going through this. And if you're going through it yourself, we look forward to empowering you tonight. And so I'm excited as we celebrate this particular part of the month of domestic violence. So we have a big lineup for you tonight all across the country. And I'm going to bring up our guests, and we're going to jump right in here with both feet. And I want you to ask you to hang in here with us until the end. We're going to try to keep till you about 8 o'clock maybe. And I have a few announcements I want to get out to you. So if you would be so kind to hang in here with us to the end. So let's go ahead and bring up my guest co-host. All right, Miss Stephane Luther, and say hello to the people. Miss Stephane is from Chesterfield County, and she's the victim advocacy here. And so I appreciate her joining us on tonight. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Thank you. Well, you said the most important part. Stephane Luther, Chesterfield County Sheriff's Office. I've been there for 16 years, and I'm originally from Canada, so if I have a bit of an accent, I've been living in the Hartsville area for about 20 years now. So I moved from Canada, and I've become a citizen of the United States for 5 years now. So I'm just very blessed and fortunate to be here and to be an American citizen. So that's something, a lot of people probably take for granted because they're born and raised here in your beautiful country. And I'm honored to be a part of it. And I've been with the sheriff's office, like I said, 16 years. And right now our sheriff's James Dixon, JD, we love him. We're blessed to have him as a wonderful sheriff. And he truly, truly cares about the citizens of Chesterfield County. And I worked with him prior to him being sheriff. So the whole 16 years I've known him through my law enforcement career, because I'm also a class 3 deputy. So I wear different hats there at the office. He usually grabs me to do different things, and but my main priority is the victims of Chesterfield County, and I work hand in hand with the PD Coalition, which is our nonprofit group in the county, to help and stuff. But
all right, good. Thank you. I know I walked into our office and I said, "Hey, I need a victim advocate from somewhere. So it don't matter where." And of course, Deputy Greg Burns. Hey, I got you. I got the best one. Yes, he is. He
is. Don't tell him though.
I know you. Yeah, you know him. We don't need to tell him. Hopefully, he's not listening right now. But we don't need to know all that. He's truly a blessing to us at Long Middle School. So,
I'm glad.
Yeah. All right. So we'll bring up I think my busy little sister. Hello, Miss Cynthia.
Hi.
Hi.
Y'all remember her? She was here last week, and you will say, okay, she's the one with the 6 bouts of cancer. Surely she can't be going through anything else. Hey, unfortunately, yes, she has survived this too. So she is our little warrior of the family. Yeah. So we have no room to complain in the White family. All we have to do is think about her, even in her blonde hair. And
so
yeah,
thank you.
She does. She doesn't look like she doesn't look like a survivor of the pink table talk or the purple table talk. So she's something else. So just tell us a little bit about yourself, Cynthia, where you live and what you're doing.
Oh, well, I live here in Columbia. Nice to meet you.
Me
I
Yeah.
also was a victim advocate for the Abbeville Police Department years ago, and then I transferred here to Richland County, to the Solicitor's Office for the victim advocate.
No, wonderful.
Yes. So yes, you wear many hats. So, and and I currently also still help with some victims at my church at Bible Way, of Atlas Road, and I'm the of the ministry there for victim advocate for victims of violent crimes. So,
Wonderful.
so we try to help as much as possible as we can.
Okay. All right. Thank you for being with us again tonight.
Yes, my pleasure.
All right. Now we have Miss Tasha Roundtree, Latasha Roundtree, and I know Natasha since she was a little girl, and she has grown up now to be a survivor. And I tell you, actually, Tasha, you don't know this. We did not schedule this domestic violence in our broadcast schedule for the month, but I tell you what happened. I saw your live view, and man, I was so outdone. Then I talked to Cyndi, and then I talked to my daughter, and I thought I knew some stuff about her, but then between her and Cyndi that night, and you that night, um, after leaving the set, I was just messed up, and I'm like, we got to do something. So thank you for that live. That now we can do this annually. I most definitely will do this annually. So can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
My name is Latasha Roundtree. I was born and raised in Greenwood. Me and my other half, we just built our house in Simpsonville. I relocated. I work at National Healthcare. I've been with the company 8 years. I was in Greenwood 6 years and transferred my job here to NHC of Greenville, where I'm a medical assistant. I have one son. His name is Jariah, and he's 20 and he's a junior in college.
All right.
And I've known Dr. White and Miss Cyndi. Well, they saw me grow
Since you
up,
was a baby.
and I'm a survivor,
Yes.
and
Yes.
I'm a blessed survivor.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you for taking the time to be with us tonight. All right. Now we have Miss Natasha Tiara Gresham, and I have one of the best son-in-laws. I mean, he just makes her life so. I don't know what I would do with her without him. So, yeah, that's him making her look good. Yeah, no too many followers to say that about her. But anyway, Natasha is, of course, my oldest, and I'm gonna ask if she would share a little bit about what she does. She also assists me. Well, I'll let you tell. Go ahead.
Hello, everyone. I am Minister Natasha Gresham. I was born and raised here in Greenwood, South Carolina, is where I currently reside, work, serve, and live my life. I am the CEO of Paracaleo Management, or PM Executive Services and More. It's easier to say than Paracaleo. But basically, and let's see, I have two women's organizations that are my clients, as well as Dr. White and the Power to the People town hall format. And so this is something that's a big deal to my heart, as far as working with women and working with platforms that get information out and get stories told. So I'm excited to be here tonight to be of service, where I'm usually in the background, being able to kind of tell my story and just let women know that they are not alone.
Hey, Tasha, tell what Sheriff Dixon told you, how you earn your keep. You told him, I guess.
I had to contact him one time for the show, and I couldn't get him. Or anyway, when I finally got him, he was like, "Well, your dad." No, he said, "Well, Dr. White knows me," because I never present myself as his daughter. I go professional and say I'm, calling in reference to Dr. White. He says, "Well, Dr. White knows me. Why didn't he just call me himself?" I said, "Well, the secret is I'm his daughter, and instead of him to make him feel good about giving me money, I work for him.
Ah,
It does make me feel a little better. It really does. Wow. That so. All right, but I appreciate she does an excellent job. We'll put her business up before we leave. Okay. All right, we have two more, and this is Miss Shauna Foster. Miss Shauna Foster. I will say that the little bit I know is that you're Miss, not Miss. Now I'll let you say it. MIS Miss Black North Carolina. Yes.
Yes, I am. I am the former Miss Black North Carolina. That is just one of the 99 titles that I do own and operate.
Yes.
I am not only just a survivor, but I am a success story. West Indian descent from Trinidad, raised in New York, mom of 4, foster parent of 105. Been fostering for about 5 years.
Wait a
Yeah,
minute, you said
105.
105, you mean like 105?
105 lives I have touched and impacted in my life over the past 5 years of being a licensed foster parent. Yes.
Wow.
In my home.
Yeah.
amazing.
Yes. Even have a success story of adopting,
Yeah.
foster to adopt my youngest son. So yes.
And guys, guess what? She is right now in a boxing studio. She ain't
I
taking stuff from nobody, no more. And they had a lot. How many kids were in there? 26, you say?
About 25.
25
Yeah.
in there training
Yes.
boxing.
Learning the arts of and discipline of boxing.
Okay, great. Thank you for that work and thank you for being with us tonight. And then last but not least, we have Miss Shauna Graham and Miss what did I miss Shan? Shan, what?
Yeah.
I know Shan. Miss Shan.
Come on now.
She is a child of domestic violence and tell us a little bit about yourself, where you're living and what you do.
Hi, everyone. My name is Chandrika Graham. That's my handsome uncle up there.
Yeah, that's my favorite niece.
I
The other nieces didn't hear that.
I am originally from Greenwood, South Carolina, but I was raised all over because my dad is in the military. I currently reside in Columbia, South Carolina. I am a caseworker for South Carolina Mentor, and I currently help families by providing them with resources. I've been doing this since January of this year, and I am able to help moms who are going through domestic violence situations by giving their kids and them resources to help them when they are finally out of that situation.
Okay, great. All right, so ladies, let's jump on in here, let's get after it and help some people that's out there. So first, we're going to start with Miss Foster. Luther, what is domestic violence? Tell us what we're talking about tonight.
We're talking about domestic violence right now. The way it defines, in the law is they say a household member. So this is also including same sex now. That changed because it used to just be opposite sex. Now they're including same sex as far as a household member. Related to you could be married. You could be separated, divorced, but have a child in common, or just be in an intimate relationship where you have had to, have a sexual relationship. And that's what they're calling domestic violence. Violence between, whether it's verbal abuse, physical, sexual, any kind of abuse between that type of relationship is what we define as domestic violence, whether you're a victim of. So either currently married, whether it's the same sex or, your opposite sex.
Mhm.
You're in a relationship, you live together, in a sexual relationship, or you could have been separated for 20 years, but you share a child.
Okay. So that, I guess it's mostly defined, closely defined from the word domestic, which probably get the actual design from, I would think. All right. So with that said, who is a victim? Because I assume that many don't know if they're a victim or not.
Well, I mean, not only obviously with the classic. If you've been abused physically, that's what everyone knows of as the classic domestic violence is being abused. But there's also the mental abuse, even throwing things in the house and not actually hitting you as a victim. If your significant other just you're in an argument and they grab your cell phone and they smash it so you can't get help. That's
Mhm.
that's domestic violence right there. The verbal abuse of threats to where maybe I'm gonna kill you. If you call the police, I'm gonna kill you. Just because if you are in fear of your life and you are truly in fear of your life and your safety, you're a victim of domestic abuse. If you are physically hit, touched in any way sexually that you're not okay with, obviously you're a victim. Um, that nature. But
Okay.
also, like I said, it's the verbal abuse that a lot of people don't. Well, he didn't touch me, or the significant other says. I always want to. I want to say I have to learn not to say the husband or the man, because we have. I've had male victims, several male victims, especially lately. We're having male victims too, but they don't like to come forward as much. That's just that stigma for the
No.
men, right? So they don't
Right.
like to come forward as much. But the spouse or the significant other will say, just the threat of I can do this to you, and that this person can physically hurt you, or shows you a weapon, a gun, a knife, things of that nature, where you're in fear of your safety or your life or your children's life.
Mhm.
They'll use your children, your family against you. Things of that nature. You're a victim of domestic violence.
Well,
You're isolated. You don't have family around. You're not allowed to go anywhere. They take the keys from you and won't let you leave the house. All of that is leading up to bigger issues, and it
Yes.
doesn't stop. It's one thing that will then lead to another. That honeymoon phase where everything's wonderful is very short lived. It always gets worse and worse and worse.
Mm-hmm.
well, let me and this is, we're just gonna go with the flow here. But I wanna jump to Tasha right quick, but in about 30 seconds, Tasha. Miss Grisham, because I got two Tashas here. Natasha and Latasha. All right, Natasha. Um, just knowing a little bit about her story, um, she did not think that she was a victim. Tell us a little bit why you didn't think you were a victim.
Well, number one, I was very young. I got in this relationship when I was 16, and at that time,
She was she was
I was a
she was a fighter.
vibrant
She was
youth.
bad.
So I was in the street life. I fought and stuff like that often, and so we would get into an argument and it would turn into a physical fight. But because I was fighting back, or maybe even possibly had passed the first lick, I just considered it to be a fight.
Mhm.
I didn't really consider it to be abuse. Like I said, either I hit first, so I was participating in domestic violence. So if he hit me back, I didn't really consider. I just considered it a fight. Or even if he hit me first, if we had been in an argument and I know I said something real slick or real mean, and he hit me first, again, and then I hit him back, and to me that was just a fight. It didn't process to me that I was being abused or victimized.
Okay. Now, and we don't want to leave out, like you said, you mentioned the men, Miss, on the actual, the people that are victims that you did mention men, but are, I'd like for you to speak to the LGBTQ people that
Mhm.
experience, are they actual victims as well?
Yes, absolutely. That's what I meant by with same sex, because it actually never used to be a law. That would just be like a civil assault or assault and battery charge. They weren't recognized as, domestic relationship here in South Carolina, in our state. And so now they've actually recognized same sex marriages. So,
Okay.
the they're included just like they're any other couple, right? So, more, at least trying to be more inclusive with the communities and with the people in the community. So it's absolutely, they're
Okay. All right.
just have the same rights and services that are offered for domestic violence.
Okay. Yeah, and I guess that's what's really need to be um, known or put out there, that
Yeah.
they do have the same services available to them. So don't think of yourself as not different from the ladies. All right. So we can go with the.
Yeah.
All right. Number 4. What about children's response in long term? And I asked Ms. Graham and Ms. Luther to respond to that. What does domestic violence in the long term, how does it affect you? What's the possible effect? And well, let's go with Ms. Graham first. She can give us the clinical part of it, and then Shan can give us the actual reality, the essential part of it. So, Ms. Luther, what's the
Okay.
clinical?
Well, one thing I'd like to hear from, the ones that are
Okay.
actually specific, but I will say this. When we have maybe a witness of a child that's been through domestic violence, we have an area near us that's called that just is a treatment center for children.
Mhm.
So you can either use, around us we have the PD Coalition or the Care House, and they're specialize on trauma for children, whether the children have been abused, or because most likely if they've seen it, they've possibly been abused too. But we like to gather information from them, so we give them forensic interviews. We don't interview the children. We send them to a place that has that specifically that deal with children of domestic violence, or whether they've witnessed something like this. And I find children are resilient, they are, but they need the certain tools to help them get there. So I find that if they can get into some type of trauma counseling and things like that geared toward them, sure, any place is wonderful, but the ones that are geared towards them, I always find that's my first reference and suggestion to parents, is to get them into a trauma counseling. And you'd be surprised how great, if they've got the right tools, to get that counseling, they will thrive. And you got to break that chain, right? That you got to break that the cycle.
Okay.
So, but I'd like, what are your thoughts, and what do you guys think about that?
Okay, Shan, would you respond to your experience as far as the long-term effect it had on? First, tell us a little bit about your story, and then let us know what the long-term effect has been with you, if any. Can you hear?
Okay, I couldn't get my mute button to work.
You got it. Worry about it.
So my mom was abused. It wasn't all the time in front of us. It was mainly privately. And she would be abused and then forgive. And then, or she had took back the charges when he would abuse her. And it ended up in death, where he ended up shooting her 11 times. And she ran from the apartment to protect my brother and my sister from his wrath, and he ended up killing her and then killing himself. I wasn't staying with her, so I got like the short term effect of it. Where I saw when she would run into the room with me and lock the door, because he was after her because she had his cell phone and he was in a rage, and she would just hold me and rock me and pray that he would go away. And I know with me, it had me, I didn't understand as a child why she would stay with somebody like that, or why she would keep us in an environment like that. And she always would tell us that she wanted my brother to be able to have his father in his life. She didn't want to separate the family. And so my sister, on the other hand, she's not that trusting of men now due to her being there long term. Um, but we both have like healthy relationships, even though we both saw it. I guess it made us stronger, and because we started at a younger age, it helped us to know what not to tolerate and what not to accept. Um, and that it wasn't okay. And by me staying with my father at a young age, it showed me how a man was supposed to treat you, and the good and the bad, as far as what he was doing was bad and what my father was showing me was the positive aspect. And not all men were abusive towards women.
Yeah. Okay. Let's go to the next one. I really I want to say that I have a very resilient family. Let's go to the next question.
You want, do any one of us take this question?
Sure. What were some of, warning signs that maybe you could help other people that
So
might be in a relationship?
yeah,
now?
we'll go around the room on that one. We'll start with Miss Foster. How did your abuser show potential warning signs?
So I would say that the only sign that I saw, or that was visual to the naked eye, was the aggressive love. It was more along the lines of wanting to overachieve. You look extremely beautiful today. Nobody else should probably see that. Go in the house. I lived in a house for 7.5 years that had a deadbolt on both to get in and out.
Miss Foster, before you go
No,
farther,
no,
what
that was
what
that was to answer. It was the potential warning was that he overloved. So I didn't
that
know
was
anything
my
different.
okay. That before you got any further, I didn't
Yeah,
want to escape.
no,
What
no,
is the definition of aggressive love? That's probably the first time I kind of heard that term. What
yeah.
is and what's those signs of aggressive love?
So his sign of abuse that I did not see, that I saw once I was gone, was his aggressive love. There was nothing that I could ever complain about. There was no warning. There was no um, hitting. There was no profanity. No, nothing out the ordinary. It was, I'm going to literally love you to death. So that was the only sign that I saw.
Man, okay. Latasha, what was the first sign of potential warnings of your abuser? Or did they show any potential warnings?
Well, yes and no. Because the way I was, I've been raised, you don't judge a book by its cover. You don't take on what other people say about people, their past or whatever. So me being who I was, and I think being young a part of it, and just being young was one of the parts. And I heard things about my abuser. My abuser was my son's father, not the person that I'm with now. Because I had questions recently to come up. My mate that I'm with now, Kelsey, he is not my abuser. He never touched me. It was my son's father, and I heard that he had previously abused a woman, and I didn't believe it, because when you're young, hey, I'm with him now, so he'll never do that to me. So that was my thing of it. I'll never do that, and I blocked it out, kind of, and then it started to appear. Slowly, it started off with maybe a little push. Then it got worse, and then it got worse, and then you try to brush it off. So I saw it and I didn't see it, and I think I didn't want to see it. And I think I didn't want, my mom especially, because I never saw that being raised. I never saw that, and my mom used to always say, "Well, you wasn't raised in a family that you like that. Why why do you allow him to do this to you?" But it's easier said than done when it's the father of your child. It's You
Right.
can't walk away.
Okay. Um,
And you just need, being an abuser, you just need the support. If not a few, that one person, that means the most, have one person that you could talk to judge you. And that's what make us stay, because we feel like we don't have anyone else, and we just stay with them.
okay. All right. Natasha and Miss Luther, you can jump in here at any point.
Lo-
Right. Okay.
Perfect. I mean, those are classic,
Okay.
wonderful. That's exactly what I'm glad they're sharing that.
Yeah. All right, Natasha.
What should have been the first sign, and interested enough, I just remembered this situation. But again, just remember my thought process. Hey, I was young, I was 16, and also I thought a fight was a fight. But I actually saw him when we were involved. He had a girlfriend, and I didn't know at the time. And so anyway, me and his real girlfriend at the time kind of got together or whatever, and realized like he was, he had us both or whatever. And they got into an argument, and they got into a fight in front of me about me. But again, I was young and I was a fight. And to me, it was just a fight. It wasn't, I didn't see him as abusing her. I saw a fight.
Okay. All right, Cyndi. Cyndi. And Cyndi is a unique case, I think. Well, I don't want to say unique, but she has two back-to-back experiences. I'll let her take the lead on that.
No, I didn't. Neither one showed signs at first. I after my first marriage, after giving birth to my son, my oldest child, um, I didn't start seeing signs until maybe 2 years into the marriage, and I was pregnant with my second child at that time, and that's when um, the abuse started. Um, he would come home drunk. I think at that time things had changed with jobs, and he had taken over a business for his uncle, and things just had changed. And he had, I think, all the stress that he had on him, he wouldn't leave it where it was, and he would bring it home. And when he came home, he was drunk, and he would take his frustration and anger out on me. And then the infidelity came in. Once infidelity came in, and then when you stay out late, I would start questioning. Once I questioned, where you been? Why you so late coming in? That was a pop in the face. And then, defending myself, there's a fight break out. And at that time, I had an elderly neighbor. She would hear stuff that go on at the house. And one day she came over. She said, "Baby, give me your number and give me your mom's number." And I gave her that information. And every time she heard a scream or a squeak, she would call the police. And there were times that I actually had to end up going to the hospital, but I didn't go to the hospital in the town that I lived in at the time. I would go to a little town outside of Greenwood. I would go to Greenville or either Abbeville Police Department. Abbeville Hospital or Greenville Memorial. And I went to Greenville Memorial. I had a fractured jawbone where they had to actually wire my mouth together and cut out some teeth and stuff. So the doctor asked me what happened, and I told him that I was playing volleyball and the ball hit me in my face. And he said, "Okay, you can tell that story to somebody else, but I know better." So he was like, "Do I need to call in the police?" I was like, "No, you don't have to." So years of abuse were maybe 8 years physical abuse, until I finally was like, I prayed and I prayed. And finally, when I got the release to leave, I left. And once I left and packed my children up, we had left town, and we came back in town one weekend. And while back in town, he heard that I was in town. And by me working for the police department, everybody was very, the police officers, when I came in, they always made sure I was safe and everything while I was visiting family. But this particular time, I called them and told them I was coming into town, and I took my boys to get a haircut. After getting their haircut and we were leaving out the barbershop, he hid behind a building and he attacked me. And that scarred my youngest son, because at the time, he was 2. And I can remember him running out in the middle of the street and almost got hit by a car, and the car stopped and made sure he was okay. But, and once I got away, we got away. But my children, I just prayed that they wouldn't carry on that into their relationships, because they seen so much, they experienced so much at a younger age. And when I went into my second marriage, my son, the baby boy, he was so scared that I was going to go back into that. He would lay at night with the telephone in his hand at my bedroom door, just to make sure that I was okay.
Okay. All right. Within less than 5 words, why did you stay? Why did you stay, Miss Foster?
I stayed because I didn't know anything different.
Okay.
That's what real love felt like.
Okay. Natasha? Minister Gresham?
The highs were high. The good times were great times, and I was conditioned.
Okay. Latasha? You there, Latasha? Why did you stay? Why did you stay? I don't think we got you.
I stayed because I was trying to give my son a 2-parent.
Okay. All right. I'm saying that. All right. Cynthia, why did you stay?
And I thought it was love.
You thought it was all right.
Yeah. I stayed because he would explain that one, for my children, because I didn't want them to grow up in a broken home. And secondly, I was threatened by harmful things to family members. Thirdly, I stayed because he would tell me that he was going to change, things was going to get better, but they never did.
That's a big
Yes.
one too.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that leads right into my question for Ms. Luther. Does a will a abuser really change? Do they really change?
I just want to throw one more thing in there
Sure.
about why I find that people stay too is financial reasons. They don't have a lot of times they don't have anywhere to go. Where are they going to go? And they don't know there's other resources. They don't want to. Let's be real. Sometimes they don't want to go to a shelter. They don't want to leave their some pets or loved one. You know, they don't want to take their kids, like you said, out of the home, and they feel they're isolated. They've been taken away for so long from their family and friends, and they can't financially leave. They don't have the money to make it on their own. And they weren't allowed to have a job. Maybe they were, like I know Miss Foster had mentioned that loved so much, like, oh, you look so great. Nobody else needs to see you. You need to stay home, or you need to. So maybe you don't need a job. I'm working. I'm making all the money. You need to stay home. You need to have dinner ready for me when I come home. You need to have the house wonderful for when I come home. So guess what? Now there's your independence as far as that goes is limited. So what are you going to do? Where are you going to go? And that's a problem. I think that's one of the main things too is financial. They don't have the finances to move and to leave. And that's why that's another thing. But is it possible to change? We have, domestic violence court in our county. And if, of course, this is something that the abuser needs to agree to go in, and it's geared towards domestic violence, but it's a program, and it also handles drug abuse, alcohol abuse, things of that nature. They can't miss 3 classes unless it's like a significant reason. They've got a great excuse or something, doctor's note, things like that. They've got to participate fully. I find that when abusers go into that program, we call it like alternatives to violence program. If they go through that and successfully graduate, we don't have a lot of those cases come back in court. We don't have the second, the third, the fourth, the fifth calls, but it takes a lot of work on the abuser side. A lot of times that's not going to happen. They want to plead not guilty. They want their case thrown out. A lot of times, in court that happens, and it just gets worse. It gets worse. If the abuser wants to change and goes into programs like that we have that are offered, there are success stories in that case. I have seen where they don't, and right away, a lot of times they'll go into the program to please, their victim. See, I'm trying, but they won't last long. They don't last long, and they get out right away, or they get kicked out.
Okay. Drake, Shan, with recovery as a child, even though you had a short-term effect, what was key to your recovery of the short-term effect that you had?
My key was my dad, because he was like my stability, being that I was raised by him. He showed me that not all men are the same, and this is how you're supposed to be loved. This is how you are supposed to be treated as a woman, and this is how you should carry yourself, and this is what you should tolerate. And my daddy, he's like, he's no nonsense. We ain't doing that. And then also my siblings. I have a younger brother who was 3 when it happened, and a sister who was 15 at the time, and now is 30. We knew we had each other as a team, and we used each other as a unit to live on in our mom's legacy, because we know that she would want us to go out and help other people. This is what she wanted to do. She wanted to be a social worker. She wanted to go out and help people. So we have each other as a team, in order to get through this together, because we're not alone. We have each other as a team.
Okay, good. Now, all of you have sons apparently, and I'm sure Miss Foster with 105. I'm sure you got a son out of there. Tell me what have that affected how you raised them as Shan speak of her father, and apparently he was him being raised good to the degree where he knew how to treat a woman, and able to show his daughter how a woman should be treated. Does your experience help you to shape your sons in a different way than you normally probably would have? Let's start with Ms. Foster.
So I would say most definitely. I've always been that one that always wanted a boy. If it ever did happen, and it just so happened to be my son's father that abused me first. But I always was in a two-parent household as well. That was something that was important to me. And my dad showed me unconditional love. My only catch was never to let him see anything different. So because all I saw was love, that's all I give my son.
Mm.
And to this day, that's just how he is. The girlfriends he has, he shows them love. And if anything is different happening behind closed doors, I think I've put on my blinders, but he's pretty hands-on, where he loves unconditional, because that's all that I've shown him.
Okay. Latasha, what practical ways have you raised this, going through that experience, that you have raised your son? Has it affected you the way that you raised your son? Latasha, this for Latasha.
Repeat the question again, please.
Uh-oh. How is it that raising this affected the domestic violence? Have it affected the way that you raise your son? And she having some
Um, my son at the time, was 5 years old. He saw me being abused by his father on different occasions, but this particular night, um, I sent him to my neighbor's house, because the particular night that it happened in 2005, um, really let him see all of that. But his father shot my car up with me in it, and um,
Mm.
the, the bullet went through the driver's side door, and when the officers, they,
Okay. We're having a bad connection for some reason, Latasha. Um, Latasha, can you hear me? She's going on, man. I wish I could hear her. Um, um, Miss Gresham, if you would go ahead, and I'll send her a message that we're having problems hearing. If you go ahead and tell us how you have this affected how you're raising your child.
Um, I I was blessed that my son came from my marriage with my husband, who is not my abuser, who don't raise his voice too loud at me. So he's being raised in a home where he sees love. He sees how to have a disagreement. Um, um, and I do, I think I do the typical things and tell him, you keep your hands to yourself. Period. You don't hit girls ever, and you don't hit anybody unless they're a threat to you or whatnot. So for the most part, he's being raised in a way where he sees what how a relationship should be, how a man should treat a woman, and even again how even disagreements take place, in how you can disagree in love. So he's being raised in that.
This is, hold on a second. Latasha is going through right now, man. We really need to get in contact.
Yeah.
Do you have her number? Um,
Yeah.
could you call and tell her we having a hard time hearing her and she's appeared to be crying? We didn't hear none. Are you there? Um, okay. Hopefully she'll be okay. All right. I mean, okay. Cyndi, was there a way that you raised your sons because of what you've gone through? Is this a particular way?
Yes, as a single mom, I loved them, encouraged them, and also, as my husband could say, they say that generation curses, and we don't really believe in the generation curses. It's learned behavior. So even though they saw that, and I taught them better than that, um, they now are they're mentally strong. My oldest one just really recently sought counseling for some issues he was going with it. My baby son, he sought counseling as well for it, because when I went through the second marriage, it was abusive as well. More verbally than, verbally and mentally than physical with the second marriage, and that's more traumatizing than ever, the mental and verbal abuse.
Okay. All right. Let's girls, young girls, and we have about 12 more minutes left. What would you teach? How can you teach little girls, young girls, to say no? What would you tell a young? Well, how would you teach them? Am I asking that question right, Miss Luther? Does it make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it makes sense. Positive role models. I think
Yes.
sometimes you don't have to sugarcoat things a little bit, but you want to just be honest and you want to be flat and direct, because you don't want them to be confused with what you're telling them to do.
Mm-hmm.
No means no. And
Yeah.
if you try to make it any other way, I mean, you just need to flat out. I have a daughter. I have a 12-year-old daughter. I don't have no boys in my family, just a girl. But it's that communication that you have to have with your child, and not be embarrassed, but be truthful and just say, no means no. And anything, if you don't feel comfortable or something's not going the right way, it's easier said than done. I know that. I'm sure most of everybody can say, oh, I've had that same conversation with my mother, and then look, what happened, or something like this. But positive role models, they need to hear it from other people, even if it's not yourself, and a loved one, a grandparent, a friend. Hey, talk to my child, make sure they know. Sometimes they don't want to listen to their parents, but they'll listen to somebody else. My daughter's
Okay.
godmother, she's very close to her, and a lot of times I'll go through her and say, can you talk to my daughter about this, or it reinforced this, and she will. I think even hearing things like tonight, your stories, your survivor stories, it all will resonate in these little kids, and they'll hear and they'll say, oh, okay, I get it. What do you guys think? What could help with the girls nowadays? They see stuff on TV and they see movies. And what do you think would be some good, factors to throw in there to help the girls?
Anyone? Cyndi,
I would say get them some type of mentorship with a female, or like at my church, we have our Janie R. Center, and we have the center is for pregnant teens, it's for single moms, it's for women of domestic violence. It's also a learning center for young women. And we recruit them all. And we even have a house for pregnant teens that if they don't have a facility to go to, we can house them there. We provide them with clothes, we provide them with counseling, we provide them whatever care they may need in their time of transitioning. Yes.
Okay. All right. Anybody else wanted to share in that, or?
I think things like we're doing now, I believe we're becoming more domestic violence survivors are becoming more getting our stories out, and it's not such a shame face kind of thing anymore. And so I think the awareness of it, that's the starter of the conversation right there. And so like for myself, honestly, okay, like we're sitting here, that's my aunt. But I didn't know that she had been through what she was going through. I think we might have even been going through it at the same time. I was younger, you know what I'm saying? But it was just a time where you just didn't talk about it. Like I said, it was a shame-faced thing. Now we are just tearing that wall down. Like we're like, no, here we are. It's not okay. Stop it. We're learning the signs.
Yes.
See it. We can say, listen, baby, no, that ain't that right there. What he doing right there, that's not okay. So
exactly.
That's where we are now in making a difference.
So the older, and not, I hope nobody don't take this the wrong way, but the older generation, would you guys, I say a couple of generations that perhaps are dead and gone. I'll put it like that so everybody's clear. Would it be that they would kind of cover it up and say, baby, that's keep between you and them and your husband, just keep it in between y'all. That's what a man does. He loves you. Yeah. And so does that stigma like broken is what you're saying now this generation for the most part, since the exposure, the training, the all that we're doing like now, that young woman can step up and say, hey, that's not what you do, even in the grocery store, right?
Well, for me, my family didn't even know what I was going through. I would sit at my mom's house with black eyes wearing shades, and she would say, why do you have shades on in the house? The sun is not shining. She didn't know until I went to divorce court. And when I went to divorce court and they was asking questions while I wanted to get the divorce, and they started reading off the records from the hospital, and they let her come in. And when she came in, her face was like, she looked at me like, wait a minute, you went through all of this? Oh, you don't have my blood. Oh, we go. And so right then she went in. She's very different. So she really wanted to locate him and, just have her talks and everything. And my family they don't know half of the stuff that I try to be the strong one, the soldier of the family. But even moving to Columbia after they arrested him for the assault that happened at the barbershop. And there were many times that the police was called, but I never wanted to press charges because of who he was in the community of Greenwood. And at that time, when we left Greenwood to move here in Columbia, I had to move up on the alias. My children didn't know that, but enrolling them in school, I had to actually. They had paperwork that we had to fill out that they could not give out their original names. My children don't even know that, but they couldn't say their names. They couldn't give their original names or anything, but the school couldn't. And I was here on the alias until years later.
All right. Let's see. The last two questions. As you look back over your experience, would there have been anything a friend or, a family member, a coworker could have done to help? And for instance, I use myself as my sister. I had no idea. I was in the military traveling. She's pictured in our family structure as the strong soldier. I'm the weak one. So I can't take but so much and my nerves tear up. So they guard me from a lot. That's what they think, but it's a different story. I don't know why they think that. But I didn't know, and it probably was a good thing that I didn't know. And Latasha, we see you. Okay. All right, you're back on. Can you hear us, Latasha? Can you hear us?
Man.
Apparently she's still. But and then the same with Natasha as my daughter. I certainly didn't know. I knew things were kind of awkward, but I just thought she had an awkward relationship. And but I didn't know to help. So from y'all, each one of your experiences, what is it that a friend or family could have done in your situation? Let's start with Miss Foster.
To be really honest, there is nothing that anyone could have done. I chose to stay, again, because that's what I thought was the right thing to do. And it actually took that one last straw of me being pulled off my job, corporate America, by my hair in front of my boss, and she sat there and did nothing, that it was time for me to go. So that question probably doesn't even apply to me. There was nothing that anybody could have done. I just chose to stay until I felt like it was enough.
Okay.
And I left. No questions asked. No, nothing left behind but the house keys. And I left.
Okay. Natasha?
I thought about that question and I was thinking exactly what Ms. Foster said. In most cases, there's nothing anyone can do. That there is a breaking point, I believe, for each individual. I know there was for me. She just expressed there was for her. And until that individual comes to that breaking point, there is nothing anyone can do. Now, I say this from from this side of the fence. Now, if you know someone or suspect someone is in a situation, prepare a plan for when they come to that breaking point.
Yes.
Get out.
Okay.
But for the most part, you just gotta pray and love them and be non-judgmental until they come to their breaking point. There's nothing you can do but maybe make matters worse.
Okay. Cynthia, what you think we could have done as a family, our friends, of course?
Nothing you could have done because I didn't share anything.
What about your coworker you told me about last week? Actually your boss, like Ms. Foster.
That's with the second marriage, and like with that marriage, I had left. I couldn't take it anymore. So one day he went to work. I packed up. I didn't take no furniture or anything out of the house. I was like, okay, enough is enough. I gotta go. So I just packed up and I left. And when I left, and he came to my office the next day when he found out that I was actually gone. And when he came in my office, he went past the receptionist desk, and everybody knew to watch out for him because we kind of knew that this was going to happen. So he walked past the receptionist desk, came straight back to my office. I had no knowing that he was coming, and my door was open. He came in, locked my door, and he had a knife, and he was trying to cut my throat. And I was screaming. The receptionist called my boss at the time. He came in, tried to kick the door in. We couldn't get the door in, so he called 911, and we're in my office struggling and fighting. And finally, they got the door open. And when they got the door open, he just shot out and ran, and he threw the knife in the bushes. But when the police officers got there, they found the knife, and they looked for him for about a week. He took missing for about a week, and then they finally located him. So once they located him and everything, they charged him with domestic violence of a high and aggravated nature, and I agreed.
So what'd your boss do?
Oh, he was fuming. He once they got the door open, he ran after him and tried to grab him, but he just took off. He took off. But we have a restraining order at the office to this day, that he's nowhere allowed around or anything.
Okay.
So if he's on the premises, he will be arrested.
Okay. And Shan, as a child, did you feel like there was something that you could have done, like whenever she would take you in the closet? Do you sometimes children feel like that they're the problem?
I feel like there was nothing. Well, I told my dad when I saw things like that happening, that something ain't right. I don't feel safe here. But the main thing is she wanted to protect us. Like there came to a point where he even threatened me, to kill me because I wasn't his biological child. And my mom's main thing was us. No matter what happened to her, she always wanted to protect us. That's why she was running from the house, so that if he had a gun, he wouldn't kill my brother or my sister. He would just take her out.
Okay. Well, Latasha Roundtree, when you reconnect, the system is saying that you have to allow the microphone system. But we are here. We do see your post, and just your appearance here is your story. Yes, you're beautiful. And so, Miss Luther, what is the clinical thing that we should do as family when we see it? What should we kind of help?
Well, obviously, help in any way that they will let you help. I will say though, something that I have said many, many times through my 16 years at the sheriff's office, we have deputies that come to me very frustrated, because they've responded maybe 10, 12, 13, 14, 20 times to a house for domestic violence. And it could even be the next day their significant other gets out of jail and they're back together. And then the next week they call again and they come to me and they'll say, and they offer so much help, and we get that victim out of the house, or something, an order of protection, and then the order of protection that's good for a year only lasts 3 weeks because they're back together, and then they get a call out and the deputies come and they're very, very frustrated, and they're saying, you know what, I just don't know what to do anymore. I try and I try and I try. And I always say, very importantly, I say, and you keep trying and you keep going, because you never know when the next time you respond is going to be the time they actually get. And they realize this is my last job, because like you all said, nobody could have told you anything different. You had to learn for yourself. We all do with every little thing we do in life, right? A lot of times we've got to learn for ourselves. So it may be that one call, that next call they go to, and they help that person and they get it, and they've changed their lives forever. But you don't want to have that regret in life that you say, oh, it's that house again. I'll go later, or I'm not even going to try, and they're dead. That's the time they're actually killed. So you don't want to live with that. I tell them, you go every time and you do the best job of your ability, and we all work together and we do what we can. And then at the end of the day, we try, and that might be the one time it changes and their lives are different and better for it. So that frustration we all feel, but like you guys said, I don't think there's a whole lot, you can encourage all you want, but until they get that, there's not a whole lot we can do. Okay. Everybody's got to want to help, and if we can continue to work together and try as best we can, provide the right resources and the right people in their lives to make things better, that's the best we can do. Okay.
Well, we're going to get out of the way on this one. I appreciate you guys. Now, I had a question about what the congregation can do, but Cynthia has shared so much about what their congregation does. We all can try to take a little bit off of that. I'm not sure if Ms. Luther wanted to add to something that
congregation can do. We have a lot of churches in our area that we go to for help. whether it's, for supplies for victims, help with even bus tickets, things of that nature, getting people out, just even being a warm welcome group. We've had some churches that have even helped people get into like little halfway, like houses that can provide shelter for these people because they don't want to go to a shelter. Things that the churches are. That's the thing. And we've had a lot of trainings with churches to what to look for in your own congregation. We've had a lot of that trainings with. I've been to many, with the ministers and the preachers and all different religions that have come together, because that's important. You don't want a victim to, God forbid, go to the preacher and the preacher tell them, oh, you got to stay and you don't need to do this. And they've got to get them to the right place too. And if they don't have the answers, we've got to make sure they know how to get the answers. So training. We need trainings and Miss Williams, I think I've been to some conferences with you.
Yes.
Yeah, we have been to conferences together.
We have. Your face looked familiar as well.
Yeah, just like, oh, it's you. It's you.
Yes.
I'm honored to be a part of this tonight. Thank you so much for inviting me. And
thank you.
Keep me in mind if you guys do anything like this again, because I've really enjoyed it. And I appreciate it. Takes so much for victims on this panels here tonight to speak to people and to show their face and get out there, and good for you. I can't even express how important this is. And like you said, Natasha, I believe it was you, Natasha, that had mentioned, you got to talk about it and breaking those barriers so people can see that, hey, it's okay to tell, it's okay to get help, and I can get through this, and no means no, all those kind of things. So thank you guys so much.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes. All right. In 20 seconds, and we'll close with this. And Latasha, Ms. Roundtree, if you can hear us, go ahead and type in the answer to this, your response to this question. If there's anything, if this was your last day on earth, what would you tell a victim? All right. So Cyndi, what would you tell a victim?
I would tell a victim to seek counseling, to get help, because we as victims sometimes we hear people say, why didn't you just leave? Why didn't you get out? We can't answer that question because it's so many reasons why we stay there. But just get counseling, seek help, and if you need, there are so many resources out there for help. So just reach out. There's a victim of violence hotline number. I don't have that number. I don't know if you do.
I had it, and I meant to load it up, and I did.
Yeah. And it's all types of programs out there for victims of the.
If you're in Chesterfield, if you're here, and just call me. I'll get you in touch, and
there you go.
To get you. Yeah, I meant to load that up, and I apologize. All right, and let's go with Ms. Shan. What would you tell a child that's in middle school or high school? Let's say middle school, elementary school.
I would tell the child, you did nothing wrong to tell somebody, to go to a teacher, go to any adult that you see, tell them what is going on at home. Don't be afraid, and don't try to be a hero. Do not try to step in the middle. You've done nothing wrong. Stay a child. Tell someone.
Okay, great. And Natasha, 20 seconds.
Jesus took the beating, so we don't have to. And if you don't believe in Jesus, he believes in you still. And this is not what he planned for you. This is not what God planned for your life. He planned for you to be loved and to enjoy life and not to go through these types of things. And and guess what? Jesus and counselors,
all right.
It's okay.
Thank you, Miss Bonnie. Thank you so much. All right. And Miss Black America, former Miss Black North Carolina.
20 seconds or less. Love shouldn't hurt. Don't love me to death. Get
Tasha.
some help. And thank you.
All right. All right. Thank you. All right. Now you put up Latasha's, please. All right. I would tell a victim it would never ever stop and to get out. Don't look back. It almost cost me my life and my son to be motherless. Now that, hey, see how the Lord used you? You really brought it home. You really brought it home. Yes. And it had to be seen. So, yes, it was. It was. All right. Thank you guys again so much. I'm proud of each one of you. All of you are beautiful, and we pray that you continue to get the story out, continue to expose and give people courage to be able to get out of the situation that they're in. All right.
Can I say one other thing? And never be ashamed. You did nothing wrong.
Mm-hmm. All right. Did nothing wrong. All right. God bless you guys. Thank you so much. And I'll hopefully see you guys again real soon. God bless you. All right.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. And we'll be in touch. Okay, Miss Luther?
Thank you so much. All right. Bye.
All
Have a
right.
good
Bye-bye. You too. All right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much. We went over time again, but these days are they're pretty good to the last drop. And so tomorrow, I hope all of you come back. We're blessed to be able to go over about 180,000. Our church has been closed since March, and I felt I needed another platform instead of standing on the pulpit talking about a lot of stuff. So on Tuesdays, we developed this, and we have over 180,000 views since March. And so we don't take your viewership lightly. I thank you for spending your time with us. And so on tomorrow, we have our regular Bible study at 7:00. And that will be, what's the topic? Finding God's will for our lives is what it's about. Finding God's will for our lives. And so that will go from 7 to 8. And there we go. There it is. So if you don't know which way, the other way, this way, that way, let's find God's way and the will that he has for your life, just like he has a will for these young ladies and purpose set out for these young ladies. God has a purpose for your life. So you guys have a blessed night. I pray that God keep you. And I pray the strength of those of you that may be experiencing violence and have yet to have the courage to move forward. But I'm believing God in you and trusting God will give you the courage to move. And like Latasha said, if you have a child, think about them and don't leave them motherless. God bless you and have a great night.